back to What's on Joe Mind Mail Call. It's where we head on over, we open up the Postsac, we take out your letters, and we answer them. Unique concept. Let's get right into it. Hey, What's on Joe Mind? On a recent live stream, we heard from 2/3 of the usual team regarding how they ranked the 3 live-action Joe films. What I'm curious about is what your rankings are if you include the 1987 animated one that was originally intended to have a theatrical release. That would be G.I. Joe, the movie. Personally, I have to put the animated movie at the top, even with the wacky biological science fiction horror. Being part of the classic Sunbow series gives it too much nostalgia to knock off. And that's from Brad Glynn via email, who contacted us at whatsonjoemind@gmail.com. Mark, we'll start with you since you were on there. I believe that you ranked from top to bottom. You went Retaliation, Rise of Cobra, and then Snake Eyes was dead last for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Joe Colton, you would know that if you watched the show.
She's been busy.
Uh-huh.
So if we're going to include G.I. Joe, the movie.
Yeah.
And granted, truthfully, I think this opens a whole can of worms like spy troops and
ninja battles.
Yeah, all this other stuff that we don't need to be including. But let's at least give G.I. Joe, the movie, its due as a potential theatrical release. Where would you put it in that list?
I'm gonna, I'm torn on it a bit because if G.I. Joe the animated movie was only 2 minutes long, I'd put it up there with Citizen Kane and Aliens and Gone with the Wind, and like that intro is probably the best G.I. Joe thing ever.
Yeah, that first 4 minutes is tough to top.
So good, right? Like so. It starts off with a kick, but it kind of ends with a whimper. And I think it pivots completely on what you think of Cobra Law, right? And I'm not a fan, never have been. And I think that's the point, never have been. Even as Mr. G.I. Joe as a kid, like the brand couldn't have hit me more right in the heart. Loved it, loved it, loved it. And the first thing I ever saw that I didn't want to buy was Cobra Law. It's the only thing I ever left on the pegs as a kid that I had the money to buy. Same. Where I'm like, yep, don't need that. So the villains are such a miss. Not that they're terrible, right? It kind of works. And I see how some people got into it and thought, yeah, cool. But for me, I love the depth and the style of the Cobra hierarchy. And to pretty much kick them all to the curb for these weird new villains. And I get it. Like in Transformers, the movie, they kind of kicked the whole original cast out pretty much and went, here are some new guys. But they were kind of cool and different. And you could see how maybe they thought these guys will sell. I can't imagine Hasbro really thought Cobra Law stuff was going to move. And ultimately, it didn't, at least not at the same level as what they'd been selling before, and they quickly distanced themselves from it. So, but overall, it's Sunbow stuff was all great, and it's got to be up there. So I would probably leave Retaliation at the top. Not that I think Retaliation is great, but I think it's the best overall Joe movie for characterization, for activating with a couple vehicles, for nailing some of the stuff, pretty dead on. Like Firefly's pretty awesome in that movie, right? And it's kind of like when people are disappointed with it, with Bruce Willis sleepwalking through it, or some of the other legitimate complaints about it. It reminds me a little bit of Phantom Menace, how Star Wars fans will just trash that whole thing and say Phantom Menace was 2 hours I'll never get back. I hated every bit of it. I'm like, you didn't like Darth Maul? You didn't like Young Kenobi? You didn't like the best lightsaber fight in any of the movies? So it's easy.
The
just
scene's pretty cool too.
Yeah, it's easy. Say again, Mike.
I said the pod race scene's pretty cool too.
Yeah.
I mean, Anakin's annoying, but the race is fun. and well shot and or created, I guess, supposedly. But anyway, long story long. I think Retaliation is remembered more for its faults than for what it got right. And I think by and large, it's a pretty good Joe movie. So Retaliation, number one for me, animated movie. Rise of Cobra, which has a lot of faults. And then Snake Eyes is always the bottom for me because they got the core, the most important character wrong. And the hill I'll die on is that G.I. Joe is not a war brand. It's a brand about courage. And they made the most important character a revenge-obsessed manipulator. And there's, it was wrong from jump and could not be fixed from there.
Joe Colton.
Yes.
Let's rank some movies.
I'm going to differ from Honcho a little bit. I'm going to say Retaliation because nothing beats that ninja fight on the mountain. That is
on a mountain.
Yeah.
That I will watch that over and over and over again because that whole sequence is top notch.
Yeah.
Is it better than intro to the movie?
Now we're talking, right?
Now we're fighting.
Yeah.
And I'll throw in there the bronze medalist. Those two can fight for gold.
Yeah.
But Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow confronting each other in the hallway.
Yeah.
That's real good.
That also is good. Yeah. So I'll put Retaliation up top because, like you, it's like the closest. It's got several things wrong with it, but there's more right than wrong for me that I will accept. So then it'll be the animated series just because nostalgia and my childhood and that intro is flipping amazing.
Yeah.
Then I really, really, really hate Rise of Cobra. Like they got the Baroness wrong. I hate Duke in it. Like I can't stand everything. I hate the stupid mechanical suits. I hate the Wayne's brother. I hate everything. So I'm gonna differ than Honcho, but I'm gonna go with Snake Eyes because at least it was enjoyable, and Storm Shadow was great.
I'll give you that. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll give you that. But I'll give this to Rise of Cobra, or I'll counter 1 point. Storm Shadow was not bad.
He was not bad. No.
Now the Snake Eyes, Andrew Koji is the measuring stick, obviously.
Yeah.
And I didn't think Baroness was terrible in Rise of Cobra.
Oh, you mean Baroness?
Yeah, whatever. You know what? She's bitchy. She looked good.
It's fine. Whatever.
Those are kind of the 1 and 2 you have to hit, right?
Yeah. But
I'm gonna side with Joe Colton on this. That is same list as I've got there. I think part of the issue with Snake Eyes is there's enough time gone, and I think as time goes on, we will all judge Snake Eyes a little bit for what they did get right.
Mm.
And we're not doing that yet because what they got wrong was Snake Eyes. But they hit on most everything else. Yeah. Snake Eyes and giant snakes notwithstanding.
Right. And Star Jewels.
I'm okay with Star Jewel.
Okay.
I just been watching the Sunbow cartoon to fill, for background noise. So, you plug the Phantom Brigade into G.I. Joe and everybody thinks it's awesome. You don't get to criticize Star Jewel.
Well, but the fantastical stuff that was in the Sunbow cartoon was in some really good entertainment. This is a fantastical element in something that wasn't very good.
See that?
So it gets less of a pass from me.
I'll give giant snakes the fantastical element that wasn't very good. I think flamethrowing rock is all right. It doesn't matter.
All right.
Doesn't matter. But anyways, I'm with Joe Colton. Retaliation, G.I. Joe the movie, Snake Eyes, Rise of Cobra.
Yeah, I can't. If my mom even hates it, it has to go on the bottom.
Right there. Well, that's my argument from now on. Well, Joe's mom hates it, so
probably fair.
She called me and was like, "I'm not like you, but this sucked. This is bad.
Hello, Mike, Joe, and the honcho, Mark. I've got an
Take it.
interesting question. In the Deke G.I. Joe series, why did General Hawk seem like a grizzled old veteran, but in Sunbow's second season, he seemed a lot younger? Thank you. Yo, Joe. That's from the A-lister Alistair Keffer via email. I'll go ahead and field this one. It's because the Deke writers were terrible.
Mm-hmm.
They were really not good.
I heard that.
Whereas in Sunbow, they took some care to develop a character. Yeah. In General Hawk. In Deke, he just kind of got played for laughs as the funny old guy with the jetpack. So there you go. It's another one of the stark contrasts between the two animation houses and how they handled our favorite property. It's why when people talk about the G.I. Joe cartoon, they're talking about Sunbow, and nobody talks about Deke because they were all trying to purge it from our memory.
You got another one?
I do. We got one more letter.
Pretty popular day.
Snarky Mark and the Spunky Bunch. That's
top billing, yo. Top billing.
That is a block right there.
I'm spunky.
Sure. So we're getting closer to the official release of Classified's first vehicle from the good old days, that gorgeous Ram cycle. What is the next small vehicle you hope or think will be released next? And which larger size vehicle would you like to see from HasLab? Keep up the work, and I appreciate all the content. Joe Self via email.
Pogo.
So, Snarky Mark, I guess we'll start with you since you're obviously the leader of this band.
Yeah.
What small vehicle do you want to see next, and what do you want to see larger from HasLab?
It's got to be the Pogo, right? No, I just wanted to steal it from Joe. No, the one speaking, you're kind of limited. If we're thinking about what they've done, if you're thinking about Ram and the Ram cycle and whatever that lame cycle was they put with the Baroness, you're looking at that price point that came without a driver. That was, it was like the $5-6 price point back in the day, way back in the day. And for me, I'd love to see the Claw. That Claw glider's awesome. And if you wanted to make a little extra, bang for your buck, if you did the Claw with a version 1 Storm Shadow, I think you could sell that all day long. And it wasn't specifically his thing, but he had a cool moment with it in the comic, twice. He flies in on it in the silent interlude. And then that's what he flies in, I think, to try to rescue Cobra Commander when they have him captured, in the prefab headquarters. So I identify it with him more than any other Cobra troop. And so I just think that would look fantastic in the packaging. The slightly off white gray Claw with a completely stark white Storm Shadow. I think that'd be a fantastic set.
And what about a big vehicle from HasLab?
I guarantee the way, if they're going to do one, I think the way they'll go is Vamp or his tank. And that's not so much, I don't know if it's what I want, but it just makes too much sense, especially the Vamp. If I were involved, I'd be screaming for the Vamp because you can do it in green, you can redo it in black, you can do it in tan, you can do it a polar version eventually if you want. There's so much reuse option there. And it's one of 3 or 4 really quintessential Joe vehicles, while also being a really not important, but popular Cobra one. So two birds, one stone, and you could do a Cobra driver just by painting one of their, Cobra troops gray, and off you go. So yeah,
that's why that's my pick as well for that one.
Yeah, I think it's a Vamp, but I think you could get them to HasLab a Hiss too. Not that much bigger. It would be more expensive. I think it would be more plastic, but yeah, I think those are your two. And I think if you expect them, it's okay to wish, but if you expect them to do anything bigger, I think you're fooling yourself. At least for the first one. If the Vamp is through the roof, could you possibly see a Slugger or a Mean Dog maybe or something? Maybe. But the Vamp would have to hit big before they consider anything bigger.
Mean Dog would be pretty gigantic.
It's low and it's a little skinny for what it was, but
Joe Colton, what do you like for a small vehicle?
So I would go with the vamp as well for the Joe side. I think so. I'm torn between like a trouble bubble, just because I want to see one, and an adder.
Oh, the adder is kind of cool.
I actually, I'm going to go with you again here, Joe. It's Flight Pod would be the winner for me. I think a trouble bubble, throw a televiper or something in there.
Yeah,
be a neat little opportunity to get something out that people would want to collect in multiples. And like Mark said, that vamp just has so much reuse value. If you threw that up in HasLab, it's got a lot of reuse potential, and that just makes it easy. It's both a wish list item and something that you can hedge your bets on for later.
I got to say this though, my Storm Shadow Claw is going to outsell the hell out of your televiper trouble bubble.
I like the claw too. I'm not gonna.
Yeah. What about the adder? You don't think the adder would be good?
I don't think I know what it is.
I like the missiles on it. I think that would look awesome. I think it would look a little bit weird packed out, right? Because you'd have to just put it horizontal and maybe do the missiles separate. So I'm not sure that one, because it's such a weird kind of silhouette. I'm not sure that one actually displays. I think it'll look weak displayed in the box versus how it would look, out being played with.
I wonder if you have to revamp it, like maybe shorten it a little bit, make all 6 wheels closer together, and have it like.
Right. Yeah, it could be like the RAM is not a perfect RAM, right? But it's still really damn good and it works. Yeah. So I don't think any of us have any problem with them, messing with the recipe as long as it makes sense and still looks good.
Yeah.
So, okay.
I'm just saying that adder pick looks a lot like, well, I'm going to change from the Pogo because they laughed at that pre-show. So
I like the Pogo. I just wouldn't fit in the box. You'd either have to crack some legs off.
Yeah.
Or you'd have to go with a really deep box, which I think they'd be afraid of. But you could do the Buzzbore. Yeah. It's right up there. I got to feel like the Buzzbore and the Pogo hang out, right? Like they're bros. Got to be.
And the Fang doesn't want to have anything to do with them.
No. The Fang's like, I'm above all this. And where's my roll cage? You bastards.
Let's pull this one into the station here. Remember, if you want to have your letter read from on mail call, be sure to send it to the Postsac at whatsonjoemind@gmail.com. You can contact us really any number of ways that we'll have listed down in the description below. But the email is the best way. It's the way that the guarantee that we're going to see it. So if you really just desperately have to have something in the Postsac for an episode of Mail Call, that's it. That's the way. So for my co-hosts, Joe Colton and Mark Weber, I'm Mike Irizarry. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you on Friday night for the team stream. Have a great rest of the night. One last thing. There it is.
Just breathe.
There's the mail call background. Oh yeah.
We're gonna have to explain that.
It's funnier if we don't.
Ah.